Big E reveals what Brodie Lee wanted to do after his retirement. Top AEW star says that he would have loved a match against Vince McMahon. And Paul Heyman praises WWE star and says he can be a WrestleMania main eventer. Hello everyone, Jose G here bringing you today's top stories in today's SK Wrestling News Roundup. Big E reveals what Brodie Lee wanted to do after his retirement. The tributes for John Huber, also known as Brodie Lee, and Luke Harper have not stopped pouring in as several wrestlers have continued to share their stories of their interactions with the former WWE superstar. Big E, who recently posted a throwback photo of a beardless Brodie Lee, took to Twitter to share another interesting story. The reigning Intercontinental Champion revealed Brodie Lee's post-retirement plan. Big E said that after Brodie was done with his in-ring career, the former AEW TNT Champion wanted to travel the world and become a talent scout. Due to Brodie Lee's extensive body of work, which included working worldwide, Big E believed that Brodie Lee would have done a fine job as a scout. Big E stated in his tweet, quote, "After Brodie's bumping days were over, he really wanted to travel the world and scout talent and get them signed. He'd worked everywhere and could relate to so many facets of the career of a pro wrestler, he would have excelled at it." End quote. Brodie Lee first stepped into the ring in 2003 as a backyard wrestler, and little did he know that his career would take him to some of the world's biggest professional wrestling companies. Brodie Lee experienced the WWE system for 7 years before jumping ship to AEW in 2020. In AEW, he established himself as a top-tier single star as the Dark Order leader and a TNT title holder. Lee was respected by his peers, and his knowledge of the business, especially the in-ring and character-building aspects of the craft, were second to none. Brodie Lee would have indeed been an exceptional gifted talent scout, as he worked closely with countless wrestlers who had different styles and came from varied backgrounds. Kane explains why he was in his ring gear at Undertaker's farewell. Kane has explained why he was in his in-ring gear at Undertaker's farewell, unlike the rest of the legends at the show. He said that despite of various incarnations of Kane, quote, "Kane is Kane." Kane was one of the many legends that appeared at Survivor Series to pay respect to The Undertaker. While speaking at the two-man Power Trip Wrestling podcast, Kane responded to fans who were surprised that he appeared in his full ring gear at the show, saying, quote, "I was supposed to. Yeah, here's the thing. Kane is Kane, and despite different incarnations and all of that, that was the reason for that, because Kane and Undertaker, I think pulled back the veil somewhat, and sometimes we forget that. But that's the kind of what separates them, I think, from a lot of the other formers, is the fact that they're truly characters, and I know people speculated, but that was the plan all along. So some of those things I think sometimes begin speculating and outthink themselves a little too much into it." End quote. Kane also spoke about the entire event and the backstage atmosphere at Survivor Series. He said that everything was well done and that there weren't many dry eyes backstage at the pay-per-view. Top AEW star reveals that he would have loved a match against Vince McMahon. AEW World Champion Kenny Omega recently spoke to how much he would have loved to have a face-to-face with WWE CEO Vince McMahon in a match or worked an angle with him. Kenny Omega was recently a part of a virtual meet and greet by Pro Wrestling Junkies. During the Q&A, Omega was asked about his dream opponents from any era of pro wrestling. The first two legends Omega wanted to face were Kurt Angle and Mick Foley. Omega also said that he would have loved to have done a storyline or a match with Vince McMahon. Omega said that despite Vince McMahon's limited in-ring skill, his matches were always memorable, saying, quote, "Yeah, I'm gonna go with the dark horse. Real oddball answer, and this was my answer like 10 years ago, but had there been the right story, if we were able to tell it right, and we were able to get the right kind of emotion, I would have loved to have a fun angle/match with Vince McMahon. It had been fun. Say what you will about his in-ring skill. When push came to shove, when Vince really had to step into the ring with whoever it was he was feuding with, whether it be Shawn Michaels or Steve Austin or The Rock, he had memorable clashes, and he always put himself on the line to make the best performance possible." End quote. Kenny Omega is set to face Rey Fenix on the first night of New Year's Smash on January 6, 2021. Omega will also be wrestling at Impact Wrestling's Hard to Kill pay-per-view in January. The AEW champion will be teaming up with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, with the trio taking on Impact's world champion Rich Swann and the Motor City Machine Guns. Paul Heyman praises WWE star, says that he can be a WrestleMania main eventer. Paul Heyman says a current champion in WWE can be a WrestleMania main eventer and that he would have loved to see him face Roman Reigns. Heyman was talking about Big E, the new Intercontinental champion, and said that the New Day star is, quote, box office. Big E became a two-time Intercontinental champion on last week's SmackDown show after he defeated Sami Zayn. This is the first time that Big E has won a singles title since his last Intercontinental Championship reign in 2013. Big E was a guest on Talking Smack. Paul Heyman stated that the new IC champion is a magnificent athlete and that he would love to see him face against Roman Reigns someday, saying, quote, that's what you want. You want to be a main eventer. You want to be a WrestleMania main eventer, and you can be. You want to be the Universal Champion? I understand you want that opportunity. Here's how I look at it. Big E, you are big box office. You're a magnificent athlete, and you're someone I would love to one day see in the ring with Roman Reigns. Big E walked into 2020 as someone that if Roman Reigns turned to me and said, what do you think of the challenge of Big E? I'd look at him and say, tag team wrestler. Best one on the planet. But a tag team wrestler, I can't say that anymore. End quote. Paul Heyman has been a big supporter of Big E on Talking Smack. On this week's Talking Smack, which was the one after Big E won the title, Heyman also stated how Big E's title win was the first step towards Roman Reigns and the Universal title. Big E also thanked Paul Heyman for his support and his words of encouragement on Talking Smack. Ronda Rousey joins gaming livestream with WWE Superstars. Former WWE Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey recently joined Twitch streamers FaZe Adapt, Nick30, and several WWE superstars on its new gaming livestream titled Superstar Gaming Series. The stars battled each other in the popular Among Us video game and WWE 2K Battlegrounds. Ronda Rousey has been off TV for nearly 2 years, so many fans got to see her again after a long time. The livestream premiered on WWE social platforms, including YouTube and Twitter. Amongst the participants were The Miz, Adam Cole, Jessamyn Duke, Marina Shafir, and Xavier Woods. Liv Morgan defeated hip-hop star Wale on WWE 2K Battlegrounds, and in the main event, Ronda Rousey, The Miz, FaZe Adapt, and Nick30 brawled in a fatal four-way match on the same game, which was won by the current Mr. Money in the Bank, The Miz. Although she didn't win, Rousey was actually quite impressive. Many fans might be unaware that the baddest woman on the planet has experience in gaming. Ronda has played various games online in the name of charity during her hiatus from WWE, and she even lent her voice to Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat 11. Thanks for watching today's SK Wrestling News Roundup. For more news stories, follow us on all social media. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Download the Sportskeeda app for the most up-to-date stories in the world of wrestling.